now is an update on school reopening. Okay, so after months of collaboration and preparation, we are prepared and excited for our students to begin the 2020-21 school year under the e-education framework that both our curriculum and leadership teams have tirelessly designed and implemented. This week, our principals have already mailed the teacher assignments to their families. Our teachers are also reaching out to their students about the start of classes on Tuesday, September 15th. Our family liaisons are reaching out to the community to share information regarding our e-education and e-learning centers. And our entire district is immersed in a 2-week professional development program we are calling the EPS Summer Institute. So tonight's presentation focuses on the final steps of the implementation stage of our reopening effort. Our reopening plans started earlier this summer with equal parts anticipation and uncertainty. And today we have a fully formed plan that is ready to come to fruition next week, thanks to the hard work and dedication of each and every member of the Everett Public Schools community. So, previous slide, please. Sorry. Thank you. So again, just to recap, this is the culmination of a meticulous process, an inclusive process that was overseen by central administration. It did include the guidance of our steering committee, as well as invaluable input from our 4 subcommittees that were charged with delving into the major components of our plan. Our decisions were informed by the data we gathered from our parents, our students, and teachers on issues ranging from access to technology and Wi-Fi to opinions on the learning platforms that we chose. And our formal reopening plan was unanimously approved by you, the members of the Everett School Committee, and was successfully submitted to the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. So now, as we refine and finalize our plans for the start of the school year, we have focused on the priorities that are listed on this slide. So the implementation of our plan has included robust training from the essentials of properly outfitting, cleaning, and disinfecting our schools to the intense professional development on the learning platforms we will utilize for our e-education. It has also featured a massive investment in procuring the teaching and learning materials and equipment and online products and services that our dynamic remote learning model requires. And again, it has, I can't stress this enough, has been characterized by incredible dedication from all of our staff. So what follows is a detailed look at how we are sharpening our focus in anticipation for the first day of school next week. So the first priority we are focusing on is communicating with families who have been asked to exhibit a tremendous amount of patience as we have taken all the necessary steps to formalize our plan in partnership with the Everett Teachers Association, as well as meeting the expectations that have been laid out for us by the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. And so I do want to thank the families so much, because I know that it has been very difficult to handle the amount of uncertainty that we've all been facing, and we really appreciate that. Principals have all emailed home letters to families that include the student grade, teacher assignments, teacher's email, and a fundamental and welcome sign that the school year is indeed upon us. These letters have been translated into Spanish, Portuguese, and Haitian Creole. Our outreach efforts have also included phone calls to families explaining the major tenets of e-education and the options available to students in substantially separate programs. So we have also called families to update them on the registration process for our e-learning centers. We are rigorously sifting through the registration requests and will provide notifications to families this week. In both cases, our staff utilized new technology that enables us to quickly connect with parents in dozens of languages, thanks to on-demand translation services that we have just implemented. We have also begun instituting a process in which school staff are reaching out to families to schedule welcome meetings via Zoom for Family Connection Day on Monday, September 14th. Central to these efforts are the district's new family liaisons, who I'm excited to introduce to you. So we have hired 14 individuals to serve our newly created family liaison positions, 12 of whom are photographed here. They will actively engage our families in all aspects of student learning. Of our liaisons, 8 speak Portuguese, 3 speak Spanish, 2 speak Haitian Creole, and 1 speaks both Spanish and Portuguese. The liaisons will work out of our school buildings to provide parents with easy access to one point of contact. Our family liaisons bring rich and diverse backgrounds to their positions. So while their proficiency in our district's primary languages is most definitely an essential part of the job, these dedicated individuals are more than interpreters. They will serve as the bridge between our schools and our families. A bridge that our district so very desperately needs, especially with the upcoming year. Just to tell you a little bit about our liaisons, 3 of our liaisons moved to the United States from Brazil. Another moved to the US from Puerto Rico, and yet another came to Everett from Haiti. Our liaisons include people who attended the Everett Public Schools and others who have children in the schools. They have familiarity working with vibrant immigrant populations in Everett and beyond. And we are very excited to have them as part of our wonderful team. Here are 3 brief examples of the kind of experiences our family liaisons are bringing to their positions with the EPS. So Regina Almeida was born and raised in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Her and her family moved to the United States in 1997, living at first in the Alston-Brighton area, where there is a large Brazilian community. Later, Regina and her husband and their 2 daughters moved to New Hampshire and started a small restaurant that catered to the small but vibrant Brazilian community in Manchester. And she has been with EPS since 2017. Jehu moved to Everett shortly after his family came to the United States from Haiti in 1988. He grew up in Everett and graduated from EHS and Salem State University. He has been a member of the EPS staff for the past 9 years, serving as a translator, a paraprofessional, and track and field coach. Larissa was born in San Juan, Puerto Rico, and has lived in Everett for more than 20 years. She has 3 children, an EHS graduate currently attending Leslie, an EHS senior enrolled in the Science, Technology, and Engineering Academy, and a 6th grader in our schools. And that is just some of the amazing stories and experience that our family liaisons are bringing with them. They have already been off and running, busy making phone calls to families to inform them about the Learning Center registrations and attending training on our virtual learning platforms as well, so that they are well equipped to support our families come the start of the school year. So in preparation for the opening of e-learning centers, the EHS TV studio has created safety videos in English, Spanish, Portuguese, and Haitian Creole. So we're gonna play for you right now a compilation of parts from all 4 of the videos. These videos will be available in their entirety tomorrow on our EPS website.
Social distancing is essential to minimize the risk of spread of COVID-19. This means keeping a safe space between yourself and other people who are not from your household. To practice social distancing, the Everett Public Schools has determined that staff and students should stay at least 6 feet away from each other. To facilitate social distancing, as you move through the building, please pay close attention to all signs.
El distanciamiento social es fundamental para minimizar el riesgo de propagación del COVID-19. Esto significa mantener un espacio seguro entre usted y otras personas que no son de su hogar. Para practicar el distanciamiento social, las escuelas públicas de Everett han determinado que el personal y los estudiantes deben mantener al menos 6 pies de distancia social entre sí. Para facilitar el distanciamiento social, mientras recorre el edificio, por favor preste atención a todos los letreros.
As you come back, please enter the building at the designated entrance for your assigned e-learning center. Per the city ordinance, as of August 10th, 2020, masks are required at all times outside of your home and in all public places. This includes all e-learning centers.
Ao voltar, entre no prédio pela entrada designada para o seu centro de aprendizado virtual. De acordo com o decreto municipal de 10 de agosto de 2020, máscaras serão exigidas em todos os momentos fora de sua casa e em todos os locais públicos. Isso inclui o Centro de Educação Virtual.
Before sending your child to the e-learning center, please pre-screen for illness. If your child is experiencing any of the following symptoms: feeling feverish or having a measured temperature greater than or equal to 100 degrees Fahrenheit, loss of taste or smell, cough, difficulty breathing, shortness of breath, fatigue, headache, chills, sore throat, congestion or runny nose, shaking or exaggerated shivering, significant muscle pain or ache, diarrhea, nausea, or vomiting, please do not send your child to the e-learning center and follow the guidance that will be provided upon registration for the e-learning centers. If you would like to access the Everett Public Schools Safety Plan, it will be available on the Everett Public Schools website in multiple languages. We will be constantly monitoring CDC guidelines to ensure that we are following updated health and safety guidance. The health and safety of your children and everyone involved in the e-learning centers is the highest public schools slowly begin to return to learning in the classroom. We look forward to seeing all of our e-learning center participants on September 15th. Welcome back.
D'écouter aux 60, tous difficultés pour respirer, surtout fatigue, mal-tête, confusion, gorge fait mal, condition au soit nez coulé, souquet au soit tremblé, significant douleur, diarrhée au soit vomi, sans préparer petit oie dans son application, qui conseille vai sua instituição saiu. Se o time access no plan, Secretaria EPS lá, disponível no site EPS lá, em plusieurs langages. A toujours observer detectives CDC, para ceux que nous approvisé de centre à sécurité. A sécurité tutorial, qui implique son apportage, people priorité dans l'école publique Everett. Même genre, tout doucement commencer à retourner dans l'apportage de la classe. Nous gardons pour plus devant pour voir tous les participants sur l'apportage dans le 15 septembre. Bienvenue.
So that and many other videos are ones that we have been busy working on, including freshman orientation videos of the high school. We've really, again, been trying to make sure that our outreach to families is not only translated in all major languages, but is also accessible via video. So additionally, starting tomorrow morning, the EPS website will also feature a collection of brief how-to videos on the programs that are most essential to the e-education experience. So our family liaisons are working very hard to translate the videos into Spanish, Portuguese, and Haitian Creole. And we will post the translations as they become available. The video tutorials cover a number of different topics and platforms, including how to email your teacher. So that's a video created by our staff on how parents can best contact their teachers via email. Chromebook essentials, basic but important information on how to power up your Chromebook, because that is the device a large which percentage of our students will be using to receive their e-education. Google Classroom, which is a video curated for the express purpose of showing parents and caregivers how to best support students who use Google Classroom. A separate video will also be posted showing how to access Zoom through Google Classroom. Clever, so we'll have 2 how-to videos on the single sign-on service that will allow our students and families to easily access their child's e-education. So one of the videos is strictly visual, making it useful to all of our families. We also will have 3 Zoom videos, including one that covers how to set up a camera and the microphone. A getting started video on Remind, which is the private mobile messaging platform that fosters communication among teachers, parents, students, and administrators across all grade levels. Flipgrid, a simple, free, and accessible video discussion experience. 3 videos on MyNG Connect, a portal to National Geographic learning instructional programs, all of which are utilized by our English learners. And Class Dojo, our primary source for communication among K-8 teachers and our families. So something very exciting about the e-education that we are providing is the professional development that we are also providing to our teachers in order to support it. Right now, we are holding our first ever EPS Summer Institute for our educators, an intensive, fully remote 9-day program that's been filled with training sessions that will prepare teachers and staff to deliver e-instruction to our students. The first week was held last week between August 31st and September 3rd and included a mix of district-wide presentations and grade and content focused sessions as well. And we are now in the midst of the second week. So we've had some wonderful keynote speakers, including some of our own school committee members, as well as Mayor Carlo Di Maria and Senator Sal DiDomenico. And the sessions themselves have been led by a combination of virtual learning companies, consultants, and our own teachers. We even have a student-led session coming up later this week. Teachers have been able to access all of this training virtually with the help of an easy-to-use scheduling platform called Sched. We have offered a total of 75 courses just this past week, actually, or last week for the first week, featuring a mix of training sessions led by our staff, vendor-led presentations on the various platforms we'll be providing this year, and recorded webinars. So teachers had flexibility to choose the sessions that they needed the most depending on their grade, their subject area, and or their technology base, so what they needed to learn. So this slide shows what courses were particularly popular, led by advanced Zoom training, which will help our educators deliver remote instruction to their students starting next week.
Mr. Chairman?
And in the next slide,
It was Ms. Murray. May I ask a quick question?
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Murray.
Madam Superintendent, to you through the chair. I believe the last time I went on the Everett Public Schools website, it said something about the e-Teacher Learning Institute. There was a little clip. So will teachers have access, recorded access to anything that they want training in that they didn't get a chance to do live?
yes.
And how long will these videos stay accessible to them?
So we're trying to create a bank on our website. We were originally trying to connect all of the videos into Sched itself, where you can find all of the resources. Unfortunately, it was difficult for us to actually include the videos of the recorded webinars. So we are currently in the process of creating a full bank or folder of those that will be accessible and then putting that on our website. But yes, to answer your question, those will all be available not only for teachers to revisit or educators to revisit if they didn't get a chance to see it the first time, but also if they want a refresher. So we are now in the midst of the second week of our PD. This week's schedule continues the theme of offering courses our teachers need to prepare for e-education. It includes time for our school leaders too, to work directly with their staff, as well as a host of self-paced webinars on district-wide online platforms. As we have discussed in recent weeks, the training was organized by a dedicated team of virtual learning leaders who acted on the feedback from teachers on the best online products and services. The last day of this week will center on the district's formal plan for diversity and inclusion, a plan that I presented to all of you earlier this summer that we're calling Elevating Equity for Everett. This will also be highlighted by a presentation by our Everett High School students. It should also be said that the EPS Summer Institute, as is the case with the creation of our family liaison positions, I think it really illustrates that there are instances when we can make the necessary preparations for this unprecedented 2021 school year, but while also moving forward with some of our important mid and long-term goals. So an intense family engagement and enhanced, easy to use professional development are certainly not COVID exclusive objectives. And so they are both initiatives that we hope to move forward throughout the coming years, and we are excited about the opportunity to have launched them this year. So next I wanted to talk about our considerable HVAC efforts. So our HVAC efforts have been led by our facilities director, Steve Bond, who will be speaking tonight about certain components of this work. But because this topic is so important and so crucial to our COVID-19 health and safety plan, I did want to give you a rundown of the essential steps that we have taken. Our work has been guided by the state and leaders in this industry. So here you will see a checklist that we received from those leaders and from all of the guidance that we are receiving. So to date, in all of our buildings, we have ensured that skylights, roof ventilators, stacks, and inlet-outlet openings can be left open to increase natural ventilation. We have evaluated any potential contaminant sources near the outdoor air intake duct or open windows. We have removed any contaminant sources if present. For example, the outdoor air inlets are not to be located too close to the exhaust air outlet for contaminated indoor air. We've ensured that windows or doors can be kept open as much as possible while also remaining sensitive to students with asthma or pollen allergies. Opened the dampers in all buildings. We've eliminated or minimized air recirculation. So devices that recirculate the same indoor air without filtering it or introducing fresh air do not reduce airborne virus present in the room. So this includes most window air conditioning units, fans used in rooms with closed windows, and fan coils and radiators. We've also implemented policies that ensure our HVAC systems are not shut off or reduced during, before, or after school hours when there may still be people in the building like our custodial staff. We've inspected filters to make sure they are installed and fit correctly. We've checked that sufficient airflow can be maintained across the filter. We have verified that bathroom exhaust fans are functional. And then finally, well, on this slide, finally, while guidance suggests the use of HVAC air filters that are rated MERV 13 or higher, our systems are not designed to handle those products. We have installed MERV 8 filters, which allow us maximum performance and safety. While recommended, not every school will be able to install MERV 13 filters, and many are using the MERV 8 filters. If the airflow distribution system is not designed to handle a higher MERV filter, air could leak around the filter edges, compromising any benefit that may have been gained from a lower MERV filter, which is why the MERV 8 filter, which is also approved, is the one that we will be using. On this next slide, let's see, sorry, thank you. We have inspected filters to make sure they are installed and fit correctly, checked that sufficient airflow can be maintained across the filter, maintained and changed air filters based on the manufacturer's recommendation, attempted to supplement outdoor air ventilation and or air filtration with portable air cleaners with HEPA filters. Use the clean air delivery rate metric, which reflects both the amount of air a unit can process per unit time and the particle removal efficiency of the filter. We have placed portable air cleaners strategically in rooms, and we have identified the last time HVAC equipment was inspected, and if needed, we have scheduled an inspection. And then on this last slide, you will see that we have additionally verified that bathroom exhaust fans are functional and perform needed repairs before school starts, along with ensuring that all faucets and drains are flushed and paper towels are available in all of our bathrooms. Lastly, all water fountains are shut off and Poland Spring water bottles are being delivered to schools beginning tomorrow. And yes, and I believe that's most of it. I'll let you guys read through some of the other ones, but I think that covers the main points of all of the things that we have done for the HVAC system. When Mr. Bond comes up to discuss the HVAC system, he'll be able to explain it more and answer any further questions you may have. I definitely have learned a lot more about HVAC systems than I thought I would ever have known. However, I still would defer to him to provide you even more information that we have collected and our plans moving forward for these systems. So we have also been procuring materials, as you know, and I mentioned a lot of that at our last school committee meeting. Next slide, please, sorry. So while we're getting that up, I'll move on. So procuring materials has been challenging during COVID-19 as many items are on back order. This is an issue that many districts, I've actually been in contact with a bunch of them today, and businesses, of course, too, across the country are facing. So in our case, the items we do not have on hand is not due to our being late in identifying what products we needed and or in preparing the necessary purchase orders. But either way, they are not here nonetheless. And again, I know that that is something that many of our districts are currently facing. So as a result, we are dividing our technology and materials distribution into 3 different phases that you see here, with the most important items scheduled to be handed out first. So between September 21st and September 25th. During this window, we will have iPads available for pickup to our youngest students, and we will have Chromebooks available for new students in grades 1 through 12, as well as chargers and replacements for students who need them. We also will have Wi-Fi hotspots to distribute to families with little or unreliable internet access. We do have in our possession currently 1,000 Chromebooks that we had ordered last year for students who don't have them. So at least this year we will start with everybody having a Chromebook. So distribution of these will be handled at the school level, since we've already done, you know, our district level Chromebook distribution. So this will be handled at the school level by our teachers and our administrators, who will be working directly with our families to determine who still needs a Chromebook. We did distribute 5,500 Chromebooks last spring, so we did get a very good head start on this. And so we do hope to make sure that every student does have one for the start of the year, or that they have any replacements that they might need as well. Phase 2 will take place between September 28th and October 2nd. At this time, families will be able to pick up our essential school supplies, such as pencils, notebooks, and erasers. Finally, when our hybrid model begins in November, we will complete our distribution by giving students any materials they need to work remotely and in a classroom setting. So when the hybrid model starts, we'll be distributing the materials for both. I think I saw a hand.
It was mine. Mr. Chairman?
Ms. Murray.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead.
Madam Superintendent, If parents have a child who needs a Chromebook, then are they to contact their school principal?
So when the teachers are having their meetings with them and doing these initial contacts, one of the things that they will be asking about is their child's devices. So what they have, what they don't have, what they'll be needing, and coordinating those efforts from the school. However, some of the other items like hotspots will be district based. So those we will be handing out as a district. But for the Chromebooks themselves, those will be a school based distribution.
Thank you.
And finally, in closing, COVID-19 continues to give us plenty to worry about. Preparing for this school year has been, sort of like running a race, and the hurdles keep being placed in front of you at random intervals and without warning. So circumstances have made it impossible for me to tell you that we have eliminated all concerns or issues or frustrations that might arise. And I do want to be transparent about that. We are reminded daily that preparing for the 2021 school year is an exercise in controlling what you can as best as you can. So while the virus has, tried all of our patients on a daily basis, I do have a lot of confidence and admiration for the people who comprise the Everett Public Schools. They could not be a stronger community throughout this process. I have seen nothing but fervent, focused, creative, and genuine efforts to make the best possible decisions for our students. So no facet of our plan, from the far-reaching to the detail-driven, has received anything less than its full due attention. I'm similarly grateful, as I mentioned before, to our families who have been asked to exhibit a tremendous amount of patience throughout this process. And I know we're still exhibiting that patience as we slowly get out the information that they need. And I do pledge to all of our parents that this same patience will be reciprocated when our e-education begins next week. So while we have planned a very rigorous curriculum for our students, that does not mean it will be rushed. We are in this together, and we want to make sure that our families don't feel stressed out. And if in these first 2 weeks, everything doesn't go perfectly, again, we are going to be patient in that time. We are going to be supporting you and your students, not just with the curriculum, but also making sure everybody is reconnected to learning and feels supported socially and emotionally. And so I don't want anybody, including our staff, to panic if things aren't working perfectly in the beginning. It is our commitment, again, to make sure that any issues that do arise, that we will be here to give them that same detailed attention and to solve any problems that do come up. Finally, I want to make sure to note how grateful we are to the Everett Teachers Association. Our collaboration with them has been tremendous, and it has been a clear indication of the strength of this community. I know that all of you are hearing on the news the many tensions that are arising between unions and school departments. In our case, we have been working together from start to finish. In fact, just recently, we identified that we needed more staff for our e-learning centers, and it was our paraprofessionals that stepped up to the plate with an overwhelming response to support. And I want to sincerely thank them and our ETA, because this is just one example of the ways that they have showed up to support, to create webinars, to really just make sure that we're doing everything we can for our family. And it's easy to make statements, but it's another when your actions directly reflect your stated beliefs. And for that, we want to thank the Everett Teachers Association because it is very apparent, their true commitment to the students and families of this community, and to collaborating with us as a school department to make sure that everybody is well served. So again, to reiterate, our main priorities over the first days of the 2021 school year are simple, but very important. We will connect our students with their teachers and their schools. We will make sure our students have the tools that they need in order to participate in all facets of the e-education. We will emphasize social and emotional health as we ease into the more typical school day routines. And we will be flexible as both we and all of you adjust to these unprecedented circumstances. So there has never been a more opportune time to remember that education is a process. It involves so much more than just opening up a book, or in this case, powering up a Chromebook, but every journey has its beginning. Ours starts next week, or it has actually started months ago. And I think that, you know, as best as we can be ready, we are. And again, I want to thank everybody also on this committee for their overwhelming support. So at this time, I welcome any questions.
Mr. Barrows.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to the superintendent. Superintendent, thank you for the presentation. And thanks to the ATA and everyone involved, you know, the APS staff involved in this process. It's a long process. You mentioned at the beginning of your presentation that the district has mailed out letters. Was that early this week? Was that yesterday? Today? I mean today. Today. Okay. As I don't want to be a broken record, but I always bring that up whenever you are presenting. I'll be always advocating for all of our families, but especially those who need the most. And I'm talking about those who have no clue how to use a website, who has no clue how to use internet. I went to the food pantry, to the Grace Food Pantry this weekend, and I spoke with 5 parents who had their kids with them waiting for food. And they had no clue what was going to happen. They heard through somebody else in the church that the school was going to start on September 15th. But then who's going to be the teacher? What time the kid needs to start? I asked all of them if they had Chromebooks. They said that they got it from the previous school year when we did the district distribution. Only one of them did not have internet, which I mentioned that the school will provide. The others do. But those are the ones that I'm talking about. That's why I asked you when you mail these letters, because the video that you show is just amazing. And I'm so glad that it's with different languages and all of that. But there are a lot of families who I show them, but even on my phone, the show Everett Public Schools website, they're like, like clearly they do not have internet skill. Like they don't know how to go on a website and look for information about their kids. They just don't know. They're very simple. So the letter, the phone call, that's really what they need. So I would ask you to really emphasize those families. The families are watching us now on Facebook Live, but many of our families do not have Facebook because they just do not know how to use it. They don't have internet. Yet they have their kids who are starting class September 15th. Out of those 5 families that I spoke, 3 of them want to send their kids to school, which I share with them in Spanish, the registration form I sent from my phone to their phone. And the other 2 want to do remote at home. So anyway, I don't want to be a broken record, but I would ask you to really emphasize the communication when you talk to your staff, that it's important to send letters, to call those families, because as I said, it was this past Saturday, and those 5 families had no clue what was going to happen. Of course, I talked to them, I stopped, I gave them as much information as I could, but still, I imagine that there are way more than those 5 in need of this information. So.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you bring that up, because yes, and we want to get this information out to as many people as we can, and I'm going to say it at every meeting, and hopefully you all will memorize it too and say it to everybody that you see, is that if families want to receive, or anybody wants to receive text messages from EPS, to please text yes to 67587. So I actually received text today from that that will even just kind of like remind you or tell you the information is coming so that you know to expect it. And it will come in your native language. So for example, it says, as a reminder, the first day of school for remote learning will be Tuesday, September 15th. We are excited to announce that letters have been mailed today to notify you of your child's grade, teacher, and teacher's email. You will be receiving a notification from your child's school about Communications Day on Monday, September 14th. So we're really trying to push out the texts as well as the robocalls, because I know a robocall went out today. And then in these texts too, we'll often have the link that's right connected to there. So if they opt in, we're going to be sending the update your contact information and in the native language, so that they can, again, if they haven't heard from us, I wonder if we have their updated contact information, so to make sure that they're not just getting text, but that they're getting any other kind of communication that's coming out to us. Or that they know who to contact, because we'll also soon be getting out the information about the family liaisons you can connect to. So we're going to be trying to be putting out this information in like small bite-sized pieces that are palatable. And so the best way to get it out, like we're going to try all different ways, and we're wondering if the text might be the best way. I'm not sure, but we will be putting it out in every different way we can, on the robocalls, on our Facebook, our Twitter. I just recently started an Instagram. That was like, I've never had one before, and so I'm starting that. Like, we're really trying like any kind of thing that we can in order to get the word out. But please, when you guys are talking to families and you see and they say that they don't know, please tell them to immediately text yes to 67587, because I think that'll at least give us a touch point with them to let them know when communications are going out, or how they can opt into other kinds of communications.
Okay, thank you, and thank you, Superintendent. And last, feel free to utilize us as well, school committee members. Mr. Parker and I are every Saturday in that food pantry. We are happy to distribute. Mr. Parker actually walked that entire line with 1,000 people up and down the whole morning. So feel free to give him a bunch of printouts to give to the families. Sorry, Mr. Parker, I'm already assigning you to that.
So we're putting them out as we speak, and we also will not just be relying on you guys to do that, because we know you did that before, but it can't just be you guys. So we actually will have some staff that are there to support you as well.
Perfect. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Superintendent.
Ms. Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to Madam Superintendent. Just a few quick questions. Do we know yet what percentage of families that opted for e-learning will be able to go?
Right now, we don't have nearly as many applications as we thought, so probably a good percentage. But we really don't know that is indicative. So I wouldn't want to say 100% yet, because I think what really needs to happen right now is, again, putting, like getting the rubber to the road and making sure that everybody knows, because I think that the number of applications we have are really the ones that you expect to get, because they're coming in online. And so we really don't think that that's indicative of the number that we're going to get. However, if it stayed that number, we would probably be able to serve all of them. I imagine, though, that there are quite a few families yet who just have not been able to access the online form or access the form, and will still be submitting applications.
Thank you. Was there any outsized impact to one neighborhood school over others, or will that be an issue?
So no, so actually we broke down the information that we've gotten by grade level, by school, and right now it seems pretty well distributed, but again, we can't really tell because we don't know that this is completely indicative. And in fact, like, I think the concentration that we saw the most was fifth graders at one particular school requesting it. Like, we're also seeing, okay, where's the trend of who's requesting it most at which school? So we were looking at that too. But again, I don't know that it's completely indicative of what the final group of applications is going to look like.
Okay. And then just a few questions. All the questions I've been getting are the practical ones. Are crossing guards going to be
Yes.
on duty? Yes, they are.
Yes.
What are the hours? 8 a.m. to 2:30. It's a school day.
Same. Yep. Same hours. The crossing guards will be working at the same times as they normally would. The only potential change for crossing guard times wouldn't come until the second phase in hybrid, when we may be staggering start and end times. But that is still a conversation. Again, we still have to talk with the union about it, determine what that plan is going to look like. We've been focusing really heavily on the remote plan for now. So for now, the crossing guards will be there at the times that they normally would have been there, and the school day will look hour-wise the exact same way for phase one.
So, and I think it's just parents are getting anxious as we're a week away, like officially a week away. And, you know, so as much as changed, a lot is staying the same. And a lot of information is going to be coming out from the school versus the district soon, correct?
Yes, and in fact, this past week, one of our professional learning sessions was on contacting families. So it was about how we are sort of distributing that task. And, you know, it had been brought up at many of the subcommittee meetings about like maybe dividing up to make sure that everybody connects with somebody. So this past week, every principal had divided up their families, and each educator got 11 to contact. And so I know that I was speaking with some teachers who made an initial contact, haven't heard back from them, or trying to contact them again to answer just these exact questions, to make sure they know what's going on, that they've heard, that they know where to go to get the information. So just again, trying to make some kind of touch point. And that's when we used our telephonic service for the first time, because we wanted to make sure that if they called those 11 families, they'd be able to communicate with them immediately. So we haven't reached 100% of those families yet, but we have 100% of those families accounted for as far as our teachers and educators reaching out to them. And so that has been a tremendous effort on their part in making sure that, just like what you guys are mentioning, when people just, they're like, we don't know, that at least they'll have somebody who will be right there who can answer those questions for them.
So I think it's important, anybody that's watching this, anybody who knows somebody with a school-age child, go to the Everett Public Schools website and update your contact information. If you haven't heard from anybody yet, update your contact information. Even if you don't think just update your contact information. Make sure we have the best ways to get in touch with you. And so, you know, kind of like the game of telephone. So if you're watching this, call 3 of your friends that have school kids and say, you updated your information, right? You heard from somebody, right? And that's just, it'll be helpful for all of us, most especially the children. Thank you.
And if you're
Ms.
calling,
Murray.
please tell them to text 67587.
I do. Yes, I do.
Tell all your friends.
Ms. Murray.
So my first kudos is to my teacher liaison, who actually did reach out last week. So I know that the teachers are making contact with the families. And as a teacher myself, I know that it can be a little bit daunting, especially in today's climate, with a lot of the aggression that some of the teachers in the world are feeling from the general population. So kudos to the teachers who are already starting to reach out and really working hard to make those contacts. I had 2 questions. My first question is regarding the professional development. I noticed that most of your professional development is working around technology. And then the second piece is around culturally responsive pedagogy and practice. Has there been anything from DESE regarding the Massachusetts framework, what we're looking at in terms of prioritizing any of the, like last year, they put out a thing about where our priority framework standards were. Have we heard anything from them regarding that?
So yes, so unlike last year when it was the power standards that they wanted us to focus on, this year it is the current message that we would be focusing on the standards as they currently exist. However, we have also messaged to our teachers that, you know, we all understand that our students may have a severe gap based on what they left off where they left off last year or any regression that may have occurred. So we do need to also be cognizant of the standards from the prior year as well. So again, we definitely want to make sure that we're holding our students to high expectations, that we're meeting the grade level standards, but we also want to make sure that we are not leaving gaps in student learning, and that we are being understanding and amenable and meeting the students where they are, which again, I know our teachers are very, very good at always doing, and making sure that they are, even if that means going back to standards from the prior year, that they are doing that.
Okay. I guess I lied because I got another question after this one. This one's an easy one though. I mean, in terms of parent contact with their liaison teacher, not the actual hired family liaisons, but whoever their matchup teacher is, if parents and teachers are more comfortable using Google Translate and texting, or just texting if the family doesn't need translation, is that an acceptable relationship between the students and the parents and the teachers, or is that something that the district is frowning on?
No, so any contact works. So we actually spoke with the ETA. That exact question had come up today. And again, whatever's working. If it's working, it's working, you know, and we want teachers also to leverage, like even in non-COVID times, there are some teachers that are more comfortable with phone calls, some that are more comfortable with like the text messages. So we want our teachers to be able to use what's most comfortable for them as long as it's working. And that if it's not working, to try some of the other methods. So I know that last week when our teachers were, you know, sort of playing around with different systems, they were, you know, setting up Google Voice accounts. They were really, you know, learning from one another how to use, like, you know, for some of the older grade teachers, like the Remind systems, or how we can use that. So we really see our teachers too helping each other, kind of like they normally do on like instructional strategies, helping each other on here are some of the ways that you can best communicate with families when this one isn't working. So another thing that they are doing to their credit is I feel like they're exploring all of the different ones at their disposal, not even just ones that we have provided to them or recommended to them, but the ones that, you know, from the experts themselves who are their fellow teachers, that the ones that they have used with success.
But for clarification, there's a difference between the teacher who is your designated family teacher, who may help you locate food or Wi-Fi hotspot or whatever in terms of supporting your actual family, is different from your child's general teacher or teachers who may be reporting to you regarding your child's performance with e-learning and or live classroom, depending on what the situation is, correct?
That's exactly right. That being said, you know, generally for our families and for our teachers, whoever they get a hold of and they're able to ask the question, you know, our teachers are always willing to answer. But we wanted to make sure that instead of a family having to call 5 different people in order to get the information, that when it was them initiating contact, that they had one person, and that person could help sort of triage what is the issue that they're looking for. Is it a technical issue? Is it an instructional issue? Is it about communications? Like what wraparound services? So basically supporting them. So while we might be communicating with the families from, you know, the multiple different teachers may be communicating with the family, we didn't want to put the burden on the family of who am I as a parent supposed to be communicating with. So that way they have one person who can help them get the information that they need.
And my last question is about procurement. At the last meeting, Mr. Parker had asked or had clarified that it's our understanding that when we order things and pay for them through through our budget, that FEMA would be reimbursing to the general budget. And he had asked Mr. Demas if the general budget would be reimbursing the school budget. And there was not a clear answer from what I could see when I rewatched the video. And I was wondering if Mr. Demas has given us any clarification on whether or not the city's general budget will be reimbursing the school budget for what we spend on COVID-related costs that are reimbursed by FEMA.
I don't see him on this call, so I definitely can reach out to him and get confirmation on that answer.
Mr. Parker, Thank you, Mr. Chairman, to the superintendent. So going back to technology, so school starts remotely on 9:15, and some of these items won't be available till like 9:21. To get in the queue, is that tech@everett.k12 the best address for someone to reach out to?
For the Chromebooks, it is going to be more school-based, but they absolutely always can email tech@Everett. And again, like since that's a centralized email, they'll get all the information about how it'll be distributed to schools. So if they're having any issues with their Chromebooks or anything like that, they should definitely feel free to just email tech@Everett, and we'll make sure that they get the information that they need. What we are really focusing on, so is, the Chromebook is the main item that our students need in order to connect with the e-education. And so we want to make sure that all of our students do have access to that. We did not take up the Chromebooks at the end of last year, except for our seniors turned them in. And so we do hope that families who needed them already have them. We're actually already have a list of the new enrollees or registrants, so we'll be reaching out to them directly to make sure that they have the devices that they need. But our goal is to sort of start the school year, since things are on back order, to start the school year at least making sure that everybody has the Chromebook. And then those, extra and supplemental devices and materials and resources that we wanted to provide our families, like iPads and other school materials, that while we would have really preferred for them to have been given out before the school year starts, that again, since they are sort of supplemental and extra and are the nice to have, that we will get those to them as soon as they come in.
So that slide you posted that was titled Technology and Materials Distribution.
Yes.
Are we gonna push that out to the community?
Yes, we definitely,
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Has there, everything that we've talked about is either text or internet based, and yet we still have TV. And the city's got access to channel 3. We're on channel 15, and the government's on 22. Can the video that you showed earlier regarding safety, can we start running those on channel 15? I know people love the graduation, but they might want something different at this point. And also using our own channel 15, and I'm sure for Mr. Philbin, we can run slides such as that technology, almost like a bulletin board, so we can reach the demographic that still watches TV. Can you have that discussion and get back to us?
Absolutely. I can get back to you by the next meeting. I think that's a great idea.
All right. And lastly, as far as outreach goes, when you started this job, our Facebook page probably had about 2,800 people following it. Now we're at 4,000. Your own, and not that I'm checking, but your own Twitter account's gone from about 300 to 550. I think every public schools on Twitter is about 1,200. I don't have a starting point. Where are we as far as the text goes, as far as the numbers? Do we have any idea how many people have opted in for the text messages?
I do not, but I will get you that information. One data point that I do have that you're not asking for, but I'll give it to you since I do have it, is that we did have 100 different teachers who used the telephonic interpretation when they contacted families. So that's a data point that I just happen to have at my fingertips. I do not have that one, but I will find out and get back to you.
All right. Thank you. Ms. Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Madam Superintendent, so we talked a lot about outfitting schools safety-wise, but what about technology and security? I know there's been some news lately about different instances, and we use Northeast. So we signed the contract before we really knew where we were going. So how are we kind of outfitting schools for technology safety?
So that's a great question. And we have several tech policies that we have. Of course, the making sure that we have like the firewalls, the security, the acceptable sites is all part of the work that Northeast is doing for us. So it's not just having the policy that says you will not, but also having the safeguards to make sure that, you can't access certain things. So it has to be both of those things. And we are also working to working on our Northeast contract and even starting to think about all of the different services that they provide to us, and if we even need to start to kind of ramp up our own internal capacity to make sure that we have the tech support that we need. So I know you're asking about safety, but also we know that there's going to be a lot of technical support that's going to be required as well. So we are working with them again to make sure they have met our increased demand for re-imaging Chromebooks, for setting things up for us, because we've had so many more of those. So they've been meeting our ongoing changing demands, but we know that we are anticipating others coming up for this future coming months. So we've actually been in contacts or in conversations with them about what an extension of the contract would look like and what it would include in order to make sure that we're getting all of the support that we need, as well as at the same time exploring the potential of having some internal expertise so that we can meet the demand.
Thank you very much.
Anyone else? Okay, I guess Ms. Marie.
Sorry, I actually had a quick question for Miss Auger because I just saw her moving around, but now I don't know where she went. My question, maybe the superintendent can answer it as well. Have we got any initial reaction for the telephonics program? Do teachers like it? Do families like it? Does it seem to work? I mean, I know we sort of have to roll out and see how it goes, but just with those 100 teachers that used it, what was their reaction, if we know?
I'll be honest, I do not know yet. I don't know if Ms. Auger knows, but I think that's a great question. And we can definitely get feedback about that. And that is part of the reason we were looking at the data to see if people are even using it. And then we're able to even track who's using it so that we can, you know, follow up with them, see how it's going, see how the usage like changes over time, if it increases, if we're building the capacity that we need. I know that we did talk to the union today about making sure that they received one training, and that's kind of, you know, and again, that clearly, you know, garnered great results because we had 100 different contacts. But, you know, this is the kind of thing that we would want to make sure we know that they're supporting each other in it, but that we need to make sure that we're giving refreshers, have how-to videos on it as well. So that's something we were talking about with them today, is really thinking about just, again, making sure that everybody has access and knows how to use it. We haven't yet delved into how they're feeling about it, but I'm sure if I know anything about teachers, they will let us know.
Anyone else? Okay, I guess overall that was for informational purposes. Next item.